Jadual harian Hana selalu sibuk. Jadi, saya kekal sihat dengan Vida C. Dengan vitamin C yang cukup setiap hari, tiada apa pun yang boleh menghalangi saya. Minumlah Vida C, perlindungan sistem imun anda.
Good evening, I'm Michael, and you're watching Kini News. Where do I begin? Today has been a rollercoaster ride for everyone at Malaysiakini. First, it was learning about the massive size of the fine, and then some relief as Malaysians and political leaders from both sides of the divide came together to show that they backed free press. Here's a recap of what happened today. The federal court in Putrajaya today found Malaysiakini liable for contempt of court over comments posted by its readers. However, the news portal's editor-in-chief, Stephen Gunn, was found not guilty of the same charge. Following this, the federal court meted out a 500,000 ringgit fine during the proceedings today. The fine must be paid within 3 days from Monday next week.
Very disappointed with the decision. The decision flies in the face of the fast-changing new media landscape in this country. It will have tremendous, chilling effect on discussion of on issues of public interest.
The Attorney General's chambers earlier had sought the fine to be set at 200,000, while Malaysiakini's legal team had sought a maximum fine of 30,000 ringgit. Rohana said the court has a public duty to consider the seriousness of the Contempt Act that ultimately undermines the system of justice in Malaysia. The 7-member panel, chaired by Court of Appeal President Rohana Yusof, in its judgment said the case against Malaysiakini acts as a reminder for the public to not use online comments to attack the judiciary. The Apex panel also said that while freedom of speech is protected, it must still abide by the law. The judgment was a 6-1 majority decision, with dissenting judgment by Federal Court Judge P. Nalini.
So the majority view now means that any organization that hosts any platform that allows for comments to be responsible. And that is the decision of the majority of 6. Now, what that means, I think we all have to study the judgments. And what that, on the face of it, means is that any news site that allows for comments must moderate the comments before the publication to avoid liability, even if the Code of Conduct only talks about a takedown, which means after the fact. And the Code of Conduct actually allows for 2 days to take down offensive material.
This would mark the first time in Malaysiakini's 21-year history of being cited for contempt of court. In 2020, Attorney General Idros Harun filed a committal application against Malaysiakini with regard to readers' comments in an article dated June 9th titled CJ Orders All Courts to be Fully Operational from July 1st. The fine not only came as a surprise to Malaysiakini, but no one saw it coming, and the support soon followed.
Moments after the news spread that Malaysiakini was fined RM500,000 for contempt of court in relation to readers' comments, concern began to brew over the freedom of press in the nation. One of the first diplomats to react to the news were British High Commissioner Charles Hay and Acting Canadian High Commissioner Esther Van Ness, who released a joint statement this morning. They said media freedom was important for all societies and the people must be allowed to discuss issues freely. They also said media freedom is of fundamental importance to the security, prosperity, and well-being of all societies. Later in the day, the US Embassy followed with its own statement on the matter, saying they were concerned by the federal court's decision and the impact it'll have on press freedom in the country. Meanwhile, former Malaysian Bar Council President Ambiga Srinivasan said the court's verdict would have a chilling effect on freedom of expression. Political scientist James Chin saw the court's verdict as punishing the news portal for readers' comments, and which he said was in line with the worldwide trend. DAP Kota Kinabalu said it was a sad day for Malaysiakini and for the media industry in the country. DAP Secretary General Lim Guan Eng, meanwhile, said in a Facebook post that his party would donate RM10,000 to help pay the fine. Social activist K. Sudagaran Stanley called for the judiciary to review and abolish the concept of contempt of court. Meanwhile, Dr. Mahathir Mohamed's Pejuang also released a statement in support of Malaysiakini. The party, through its information department, also urged Malaysians to contribute to help Malaysiakini settle the fine.
Malaysiakini was given until Wednesday to come up with the 500,000 ringgit, but supporters made it happen before the sun could even set today.
In less than 5 hours after launching its fundraiser, Malaysiakini had exceeded its RM500,000 target. The news portal began the fundraiser after the federal court found Malaysiakini liable for contemptuous comments by its readers this morning. With the target achieved, fundraising has been ended. All donations will be accounted for and Malaysiakini will be transparent. Malaysiakini is still deliberating on where to channel the excess funds. Editor-in-Chief Stephen Gunn said the generosity shown by Malaysians was astounding. Meanwhile, CEO Premish Chandran thanked readers and the public for their support. Premish added that Malaysiakini will continue reporting without fear or favour and will do its best to make sure the people's voices are heard. For Gunn, there were 2 shocking moments today, in the morning by the astronomical fine and in the afternoon by those who contributed to the fund.
So while everyone was talking about Malaysiakini, cops visited Gerak Budaya for the 3rd time, this time taking away some computers.
GB Gerak Budaya Enterprise Sendirian Berhad, the publisher of former Attorney General Tommy Thomas's memoir, received another visit from the police today. Today marked the cops' 3rd visit since investigation papers over the publication were opened. 2 computers were seized from the publishing house. Gerak Budaya founder Chong Ton Sin told Malaysiakini that the investigation was related to the book My Story, Justice in the Wilderness by Tommy, which was published by its imprint CERD. He said 2 cops came at 11 a.m. today and they were looking at the computers to take back and investigate. However, no books were confiscated throughout the process, but the authorities have bought copies of the book from the bookstore previously, he said.
With the number of active cases dropping, Malaysian children can soon look forward to returning to schools.
With signs that the number of new COVID-19 cases are dropping, the government announced today that schools will be reopened in stages starting March. Education Minister Muhammad Razzi Mat Jidin told a press conference today that preschoolers, Primary 1 and Primary 2 students will be back in school on March 1st, while Primaries 3 to 6 will resume schooling on March 8th. Meanwhile, secondary schools will reopen starting on April 5th. Razzi said younger students are going back to classes earlier so they can learn about standard operating procedures (SOP) while in school. This comes after the nation reported 2,936 new COVID-19 cases today. In contrast, 4,889 patients were discharged, vastly outnumbering the number of new patients for a 5th straight day, leading to a drop in active cases. Active cases are now at 36,797.
And that is all from me today, but for more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. A special thank you to all those who donated to Malaysiakini today and who have been supporting us for all the years we've been running. If you're new to this space, I'd encourage you to check out our subscription plans and become a Malaysiakini subscriber. I'm Prasad Michael. Thank you for watching.